Hi, I'm Dr. Tina Fletcher, and I am an occupational therapy professor at Texas Women's University. And for a long time, I've been doing sensory-friendly event planning in the Dallas area. And when my students and I would go to all these events, we would see all these things that were happening at this place, and this place, and this place. But the problem was they were all happening around about April, which is Autism Awareness Month. And they were really different from each other because this place wasn't talking to this one or this one. And so we thought, yeah, maybe we should get the ball rolling and get everybody on the same page. And before you know it, there was a sensory consortium that was formed. So the purpose of this talk is to just introduce you to the idea of the sensory consortium and really talk, for one thing, about the nuts and bolts of the sensory consortium, the fact that we do have a formal agreement with one another, what the agreement covers, and what everyone brings to the plate, and who the players are right now. And then secondly, we'll talk about the ongoing processes and events and things that we do to plan for not only real-time events, but of course, now we have virtual sensory-friendly events because of the pandemic, which we're in the middle of right now. And we like some of those ideas so much that we plan to implement them as a part of the regular programming, so it's not always real-time compressed hours. And then thirdly, we would like to talk about what the future of the sensory consortium is, because what we've realized is that the more we get together, the grander our schemes get and the more ideas we get. And so what the overarching goal is that we will be able to create a method of autism-friendly and sensory-friendly event planning that is replicable and that is sustainable and that is fun. So that when you maybe go to a sensory-friendly event in your city and they have a sensory consortium, you're going to recognize the flavor of that event because you went to another one in that city a month ago. So they're going to have some of the same underpinnings. So just briefly to tell you a little bit about the beginning, the sensory consortium nuts and bolts. Basically, what we strive to do, and right now my partners are the Dallas Museum of Art and the Nasher Sculpture Center and the Dallas Zoo, which are, two of them are museums, but one is really kind of a indoor-outdoor museum, and one's just strictly indoor, very urban museum. And then of course, the zoo is primarily an outdoor venue where we also have to factor in the rights of the animals and the needs of the animals. So that's given us a whole new thing to think about. But we do have our formal agreement and we have our pattern of interaction and scheduling that we follow through on. And we invite other partners to join us. And while some of them are signing on with a consortium, they are not in a position right now to be active members until the pandemic's over. But secondly, so what about those ongoing operations? What happens when the sensory consortium gets together? First of all, we pool our resources and everybody has different resources. And we also frequently do walkthroughs together to determine where, when, and how the events will happen, what portion of the space will be allocated to the sensory event. Does parking need to happen? If so, how? Once we start getting our patterns down, it becomes a lot easier for us. And then the next thing that has happened is because of sensory-friendly virtual events, we've had to really think hard about what kinds of things we can offer to people so we can avoid the crowding and proximity that's associated with sensory-friendly events that are real time. So that's another ball game, and we really enjoyed the challenge that's brought us, because in some ways, avoiding the crowding and the high noise level that can happen in these events actually makes the virtual or asynchronous events more sensory friendly. But then thirdly, just to talk about what some of our future plans are, and we'll share this information with you. First of all, there's the idea of what do you do about grant funding? How, if you get money, what would you do with it? Well, we've thought a lot about this, and there are certain things that we would definitely like to use some grant funding to support our efforts. And then the logistical questions come up of who's the sponsoring organization for that. So we can talk to you about that, but there's another piece you may not have thought about. In the plans, we would like to incorporate the viewpoints of people with autism. And of course, because I'm a university professor, I think about things like doing research with people who might have what's considered a disability, although you can debate that. And do you have to submit things like that for approval? And yes or no, but no matter what, that's the ethics piece, but no matter what, there are standards and research practices designed for people with autism. And for people who are already therapists, they're very similar to things that we think about when we're creating programs and plans for people on the autism spectrum. So lots of things to think about. We hope you can join us in our presentations. And if you can't, these are being recorded, or at least most of them will be recorded so that you can use them later. So thanks for listening, and thanks for considering what we're doing. And I hope that you're able to do something like this as well, because our grand scheme is that everybody will be doing similar things in similar ways, so people with autism will know what to expect, and they'll be able to last longer and have a better time. And that's really what it's all about. So thank you very much.